Hello, welcome back to the Wall of Unusual. I'm your host, Chris, the Keeper of the Unusual, and joining me as always is Mel.
Hey.
So today we're looking into the world of true crime. I'm kind of excited about this. So today we'll be covering Ed Kemper, aka the Co-Ed Butcher. He was an active serial killer right up until the 1970s, until he actually turned himself over to police. Now, do you know much about him?
Not too much.
So you're kind of new to the world of true crime, and
Yeah, I've seen a couple things about him here and there, but you definitely know a lot more than I do.
yeah. So if you're like a big fan of Criminal Minds, like he would be one of these killers that the FBI would profile. It's actually funny because Robert Ressler, the guy that actually made profiling, interviewed him at one point. So we're just going to start at the beginning of Ed Kemper's life. He was born on December 18th in 1948 in Burbank, California. His mother's name was Clarnell, and his father's name was Ed Jr. Now, they also had two daughters. One was a bit older, one was a bit younger when Ed came into this world. So Ed kind of had a bit of a rough bringing up with his mother. Like, his mother would often belittle him, was very, very mean to him.
Yeah, I think she was an alcoholic.
Yeah, and she would often also belittle the father. Like, he actually had a really good job. He was an electrician. He also was a World War II vet. He was a test pilot. And he was actually quoted saying that 2 days fighting on the front lines was more easier than dealing with Clarnell. So even Ed was also always belittled by her, and he had a very rough bringing up. But he was very close to his father. Now, he did a lot of weird things too. Like, he would decapitate animals.
Yeah, I think he would torture cats.
Yeah, he did that. Like, apparently his mother liked this one cat a lot, and she was really attached to it, so he just killed it because he couldn't get affection from his mother. So he says, why does this animal deserve it? And at one point, he actually cut off heads of cats and tried to keep them in his room. But the mother found it, and he tried to say, oh, no, this is an experiment. But the mother didn't believe it. And even growing up, Ed was actually locked in the basement. It was a crawl space underneath the house where they would move the dinner table, open up a latch. He would go inside. They'd close the latch and move the dinner table back onto it because the mother thought that Ed was going to rape the youngest daughter at night.
Yeah, she said that she'd seen signs of him trying to, kill them the same way he was doing it to their dolls and the cats. And I think later on he also admitted too that he did have fantasies of always wanting to kill his mom as early as 10.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So a bit later on. And it's funny you actually mentioned the dolls because he did reenact weird sexual fantasies with the dolls. Like, he would position them in a way like they were doing a sex scene or something. Even murders he would recreate with the dolls. He would often rip the heads off of his sister's dolls too. So he started showing these traits. Now, in 1957, both his mom and dad divorced, and Ed got really upset about it, and he was basically devastated. So when he was 13, he ran off to find his father.
I think he ran off because the mother moved. So when they divorced in 57,
yeah,
him, the two sisters, and his mom moved to Montana.
Oh, I did not know that. So at the age of 13, I think he ran off, 14. He ran off to California, and that's where he found his father, and his father married into a new family. But his, I believe the new wife couldn't stand Ed, so the father was like, yeah, you're not staying here, you're going back to your mom. And he went back to his mom, then his mom sent him off to live with his grandparents. Now, he was going to school and also living with his grandparents, and there are reports that he was actually bullied when he was bullied a lot, and he was really tall for his age.
Yeah, I think, well, not at the time, but when he finished his growth spurt, I think he was 6'9".
Yeah, he was a big guy. Even if you look up a picture of him, when he was arrested, he was huge. So Ed committed his first murder after a huge argument with his grandmother. Apparently his grandmother was also very mean. He got into this argument, stormed out of the house, came back in. The grandmother was working on a children's book.
Yeah, so his grandparents too. I think the reason why he wasn't getting along with his grandmother is because his grandmother also started noticing signs earlier on too. He always had really big fantasies about firearms, and I think they catered to it and actually, bought him some. and he started just shooting random animals and bringing them home.
Oh,
So this started bothering her, and I think that's kind of what started the feud. He noticed that his grandmother was kind of on to him.
Yeah, I think she took away some of his guns or something. So he took a rifle that was given to him and shot the grandmother in the head and killed her.
Yeah, and that was when he was 15.
Yeah, and then when the grandfather came home from a shopping trip, he shot him too. He made 2 phone calls after this. One to his mother to say, hey, your parents are dead, I killed them. And 2 to the police. And he just sat on the porch, waited for the police to come, and he was put into a state hospital for the criminally insane, where he ended up making friends with the psychologist that was on staff. So it got to the point where the psychologist is like, you know what, you can be my assistant, and you can help with case files and put away these former patient files for me, and...
Well, yeah, because they had done assessments on him, and he had a fairly high IQ. But even going back to the whole situation with the grandmother, so he shot her in the head. When he was finished up with her, the grandfather, like you said, had stepped out. He'd gone to the store. He saw him pulling in. He killed his grandfather right outside the car. His excuse for killing the grandfather was he didn't want him to see his dead wife. And when he had made the phone call to his mother, she's the one that convinced him to call the police, and he... confessed on the spot, and the only excuse he gave was he killed her just to see what it felt like.
Yeah, like some serial killers do follow that whole tendency where they just wanted to kill just to see what it feels like, or they get some gratification from it. So he made friends with a psychologist. It got to a point where he was reading like all the tests that the psychologist would perform on him and give him to see if he's okay, if he's recovering, and if the therapy's working. And it got to the point where he knew everything. And he had a high IQ. He's very smart, very clever. And the psychologist is like, you know what? You are cured. You can leave now. So
this is about 6 years later. I think he was 21 at the time when he got released.
For some reason, I thought he was 31. But
so he was 21 when he got released. And basically, he just manipulated the doctors. Really, it's the same way he did with his parents and his grandparents. He showed these signs early on. I believe he could have been, they could have prevented everything that he did if they had taken these signs seriously.
Well, that's the thing with an individual that is a psychopath. Like, it is hard to understand or pick up on things because they can convince someone to say, you know what? I'm cured. I'm fine.
No, I get that. I understand that. But I mean, at what point do you realize something's got to give? You know, this is a 10-year-old that's decapitating dolls, has been locked in basements. You're fully aware of all of this. He buried cats alive. He murdered the family cat with a knife. He killed his grandmother. He killed his grandfather. At what point are you going to realize this is not someone that's suitable to be roaming in today's society?
Yeah, and I think like most of the staff at this psych ward was like, no, he shouldn't be released. But the psychologist is like, you know what? He's good. He can go out into the world. So after that, he went back to live with his mother. And he ended up getting a job at the California Department of Public Works as a laborer. And he was working there. He actually tried to become a cop in California.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
Yeah, he tried to be a motorcycle cop. I forgot the actual name, but...
I think it was a state trooper that he actually applied for.
Was it state trooper?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was too tall, they said, your height is, restricted, so we're not going to hire you.
See, one interesting thing, too, that a lot of people don't really talk about too much. See, I think people need to take accountability for this, too. When he got released... The doctor had given a specific recommendation that he was not to live with his mother due to the past abuse and the psychological issues that were involving her. And he completely ignored that. The mother completely ignored that, welcomed him right in.
Yeah.
And they ripped up the doctor's orders. So shouldn't there be some type of accountability with his release? Why wasn't it more strict?
Well, it was the same thing with Richard Chase, the vampire of Sacramento. Like, he was insane, and the hospital's like, you need to medicate this guy. He has to be on medication for the rest of his life. And the mother's like, no, he doesn't need this. He's going to live at home, and we're going to take care of him, which maybe Ed's mother tried to do the same thing. But again, we're going to get to it. It ended badly. Now, Ed was never a ladies' man, but he often wanted to have a relationship with like beautiful girls, and he would often pick up hitchhikers. And at first, he said to himself, "You know what? I just want to have a lovely conversation with them. I want to see, if I can get anywhere with these girls." And then it became, "I want a bit more. I want to make a human doll out of them so they can't reject me." Like one of his quotes were, I'll read it here. "If I killed them, they couldn't reject me as a man. It was more or less making a doll out of a human being and carrying out my fantasies with that doll, a living human doll." Yeah. So most of his victims were hitchhikers that he would pick up.
I think all of them were.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird because during his killing spree, these killings coincided with Herbert Mullen, which was another guy that was killing at the same time. And I believe later on he actually served jail time with him. So he would often do these killings. And then it got to a point where, he was doing it like he actually tried to ask his mom, because his mom was working at the university at the time. And he said, "Hey, could you introduce me to some girls that, can you help me?" And the mom said no. And she said this, quote, "Because of you, my murderous son, a man has not touched me in years." And that was her excuse.
Yeah.
So on April 19th, 1973, he would kill his mother. According to him, he wanted to say goodnight to her. She was reading a book. She looked up and said, I suppose you want to stay up all night and talk." So he left, grabbed a claw hammer, and he bludgeoned her to death. Killed her.
Yeah, but before you get into that, I think you got to touch upon more of the mockery he'd make of his mom. I think he had a lot of childhood trauma with her. A lot of the things that he would do were influenced by what he went through with her. Like I said, he had admitted that, since he was an early child, his end goal was to kill her.
Yeah.
One of his murder victims, he had decapitated and buried outside the kitchen window under the ground, and he wanted the head to always be looking up at his mom. I think you had read something about that.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Yeah. Just mocking her.
Yeah, like he would do these things, like he would get in huge arguments with his mom, and he would storm off and leave, and this is where he would pick up most of his victims and kill them because he had so much rage. So after he killed his mother, I think he also then invited her friend over for like an Easter dinner.
No, he killed his mom on Good Friday.
Yeah.
And right after he killed his mom, he invited her friend over.
Yeah, and he killed her too. And apparently he spent like days like yelling at her head, like throwing darts at it.
I don't think it was days.
Oh, was it? I thought it was days.
No, Kemper fled the area the next day, and he drove all the way to Colorado. And on April 23rd, that's when he made a call to the Santa Cruz police and confessed all of his crimes.
Oh, okay, because I thought it was like days. Like he eventually, he said that he cut up her vocal cords and shoved it in the disposal because he kept hearing her voice over and over again.
Yeah, they didn't. At first, the police department didn't even believe that.
Oh no.
It was him. Going back to what you were saying, when he applied to be a state trooper, when he had got denied, I think he worked for some type of transit, like highway. Some type of highway transit. I'll have to find it.
Yeah.
But anyways, he was pretty close to cops.
Yeah, he made friends with them.
He made friends with them. He worked close to them.
Yeah, he would hang out with them at the bar.
He worked for the Department of Transportation. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So when he had employment with the Department for Transportation, he worked close with the state troopers. Some of them even gave him handcuffs. He had a lot of inside intel. So he knew exactly what he needed to do when it came to everybody else that he had killed.
Yeah.
There was never a trace of anybody. He just turned himself in.
Well, it's kind of funny because if you watch Mindhunter, where Robert Ressler's in around the area, he's in a bar called the Jury Room, and that was a local cop bar, and that's where Ed would hang out all the time and talk to these officers, and he would get information off the case. They would be like, "Yeah, this is going on. These murders are going on. We have no idea who this guy is. We're still tracking him. Blah blah blah."
Yeah, they had no clue. He's the one that turned himself in. They didn't believe him, but they obviously still needed to follow through with it. And it was through the interrogations when he led them to all the evidence they needed to prove all of the past crimes that he had committed.
Yeah. He was convicted of killing 36 people when he was interviewed.
Yeah, so the trial was, the final count was he was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder.
Yeah.
He was found guilty of all the charges in early November.
Yeah, and he's actually still alive today.
He is alive today, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently he did like some audiobook recordings you can find. They're very hard. They're very hard to find.
He did. He's still doing them. So he
really?
Yeah, so he was found guilty of the first-degree murders, and since 1977, he's pretty much spent his time recording audiobooks. One is Flowers in the Attic, The Glass Key, and The Rosary Murders. Those are just a few that he's done.
Yeah.
And he spent over 5,000 hours in the recording booth at the prison.
Yeah.
And has even received 2 awards for his efforts.
Oh, really? Does it say what awards he got?
It doesn't say.
Wow. It's also, like, to go back to Herbert Mullen, like, he actually served time with this guy, and apparently Herbert would, like, sing out loud and he would annoy the other prisoners. So what Ed did, and I kind of find it, like, hilarious, was he would spray Herbert with, like, water and every time he would sing. And then any time, like, he wouldn't sing, he would give him, like, Smarties or peanuts.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where Herbert would look at Ed for permission to sing, and if Ed said, okay, yeah, you can do it, he would sing. And it was just a weird thing that they did. He did, like, some behavioral therapy to Herbert Mullen.
He did a lot of weird things, even leading up to his actual sentencing. He's attempted suicide twice leading up to his trial. Obviously, he was unsuccessful with both. He's been offered parole. He got offered parole in 2007.
Oh, really?
2012, 2017, he got offered parole. In 2017, he finally argued against it. And he said he was a convicted serial killer. He shouldn't be allowed back into society. And his lawyer had basically just told everybody he's happy in prison, has no interest in leaving, and to leave him alone. So even if you offer him parole, he says he has no interest in it.
Yeah, it was like Ed Gein, where he's like, I'm happy in a psych ward. I'm living my best life here. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is Ed Kemper. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was really fun. I liked it. This is my very first true crime. And if you want to follow me, I'll post all of my social media links down below in the description. And got anything else to say, Mel? Or?
That's it.
That's it. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And don't forget to stay weird.
See you later.